Welcome to the Bobby Drew Show with your host, Bobby Drew, David, and Brian.
Yeah! Welcome to the Bobby Drew Show with your host, Bobby Drew here. We also have Dave and Brian on both of my shoulders here. And we are the Bobby Drew Show. Some may call us the Bobby Drew Crew. And we're here for fantasy football. That's all that we're here for. We love fantasy football, but something we love more than fantasy football is the Lord. And we're not ashamed that we love the Lord. We had good church this weekend. We've been having good church, and we praise God for that. We're just some guys that like fantasy football. We love the Lord, and we're just trying to make a clean, family-friendly environment where you can come and listen, talk about fantasy football, and just have some fun. And we had fun this weekend. Brian, you missed it, but we had a wonderful draft party this past weekend for our home league. Dave had an epic speech.
Yeah,
we might
I
have
did hear it. It was moving.
Yeah.
I was ready. I was about to jump on a plane and go sign up for like an actual football team. I was ready to go. But this is the when you get a bunch of guys together, you never know what's going to happen. I gave no direction when it came to food. I said, I'm buying pizza. You guys bring drinks and snacks. We had a cucumber salad. We had nachos and cheese. We had
Oreos,
yes. And I feel like there was something else that we're missing.
You're missing the best one. Frosted mini wheats and a gallon of milk.
What?
Yeah, that's real stuff. That's a true story. We're not lying.
That was awesome, dude.
There was like, 10 of us here, and we had, 45 million 2 liters of soda.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But we had a good time. And for you two guys, are you happy with your team that you drafted?
Yeah, I'm happy. I mean, I think I got a solid team. I look forward to my week 1 opponent. So yeah, I got a nice team.
I am happier than I was with my draft last year.
Well, because you didn't take a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, but he paid off for me during the year. The only problem is I missed out on all them good wide receivers and running backs. But listen, I'm happy.
We improved in our league this year, and last year we had a quarterback picked round 1. This year we did not. It waited till round 2, so we're improving as a league. I'm more proud that I can say we did not have a quarterback picked in round 1. But let me tell you guys, I was in a 14-person draft last night, and in the first 3 rounds, there was a quarterback, a defense, and a kicker.
What?
No way.
What
was the kicker?
I don't even. It wasn't even like
a good one.
It wasn't like Justin Tucker or nothing. I can't remember who it was.
Oh man!
So what you're telling us is if you don't win that fantasy football league, you should stop playing.
I told everybody because somebody wanted to join it, and they're like, "But I'm going to be really bad." I was like, "Listen, fantasy football is 10% knowledge and 90% luck.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is."
It sounds like this is, my daughter told me last year, a couple of years ago, she's like, I want to do fantasy football. I was like, you don't even know, like, how would you even choose players? She says, I'll just look at their pictures and pick the cutest ones. And I'm like, definitely, you're in.
Yeah, that draft was rough. It was
and that was a disgraceful performance in my opinion.
Good for you, man. Sorry, all the good kickers were gone by the time you got to the 12th round.
It was rough, but fantasy football is here, so we are happy about that. Go fantasy football. It's a real sport. we want to talk about some news injuries. Listen, you're preparing for week 1 right now. Week 1 is very important. You either start 1-0 or 0-1. Go undefeated, or you have a completely losing season if it ends after week 1. You just never know. So week 1 is always the hardest because we don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to be good, who's not. And so we're going to help you out with that this week. We're going to go over some news and injuries.
News and injuries.
So with news and injuries this week, I got a whole list here, boys. We have not gone digital yet. We still use paper around here. Right. Jahmyr Gibbs says he feels 98% to 100%. I guess we could meet in the middle, 99%. Jahmyr Gibbs is at 99% after tweaking his hamstring, and he expects to play week 1. Dave, if you had Jahmyr Gibbs on your team and you heard that news, you'd probably drop him so fast.
I don't know. I think it's hard to say week 1 because you don't get to see everything in preseason, and then you talk about injuries. You don't really know what to expect. It'd make me nervous, but I don't know.
You're going to start Jahmyr Gibbs. If he's saying he's at 99%, that's good enough for me. Even 98, I'll take 98%. I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs at 98%. Then you have CMC finally returned to practice after a strained calf. It could be a coincidence that the tackle, Trent Williams, renewed his contract today with the San Francisco 49ers. And all of a sudden, CMC is like, hey, guys, I'm good. I can play. Possibly. Ricky Purcell, the rookie wide receiver for the 49ers, is on the non-football injury list because that dude got shot. That's a non-football injury. That doesn't happen when you're playing the game.
Did you see the video?
I did.
It's on video, man. This
guy. Dude was out there signing autographs and stuff at a meetup event, and a kid showed up, tried to steal his Rolex, and a fight ensued, and gunshots went off. But that dude is supposed to recover. So if he plays this year, comeback player of the year. Comeback player of the year.
I mean, he's no DeMar Hamlin, but
he didn't die.
I mean, he didn't die, but thank God he's alive, though. That's crazy.
CD Lamb got paid last week, but Jamar Chase is still not practicing because he has not been paid. He wants an extension. He says, I want to be here forever with my friend Joe Burrow. And so he's still not practicing. And we're recording this on Wednesday. They play on Sunday. By the time you see this, it's going to be Thursday. So their game is literally in 3 days, and Jamar Chase has not practiced. Interesting. Hollywood Brown has been injured since the first play of preseason, and he is not playing. What is it? The first 4 weeks he's going to be out, I believe. So at least the first 4 weeks. So he's gone. Mike Williams is available for play 1 of the first game. We don't know anything else beyond that, but he is available for the week 1 game. We'll see how long he lasts. And then we were wondering what the Commanders were going to do with the moving on of Jahan Dotson. They signed Noah Brown, he was cut from the Texans with Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. That's a crowded wide receiver room. So Noah Brown moves on to the Washington Commanders. We would assume that he's wide receiver 2 there. We have to check the depth chart. We'll see what happens this week, but he should be wide receiver 2, if not this week, in the next coming weeks. He's still pretty good. He was a good wide receiver 3 for the Texans. So Justin Herbert, he's got that foot issue going on, like plantar fasciitis or something like that, but he's expected to play this week. So if you have Josh Palmer, that's good news. Or if you drafted Justin Herbert, which I don't think a lot of people did. I don't know if anybody did in our league or not, but that's good news that he's playing. And then this one's pretty interesting. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's on the physically unable to perform, the PUP list, which means he's out for the first 4 weeks. And the Kansas City Chiefs picked up Samaje Perine. And so now he is the backup to Isaiah Pacheco. That is our news and injuries from the NFL this week. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Nope.
Nope.
Move on.
just started.
All right. So we are going to talk about some people that we want to start. There's the obvious starts, right? And Dave's going to let us know a little bit about that. But we want to help you out. Let's all raise our, by show of hands, who here has in a week of fantasy football said, I don't know what to do, and then you go on YouTube and watch a video, and then they tell you exactly what you weren't thinking, and you're like, I'm going to do that, and then it either works out or it doesn't. I've done that. Or there's a text message like, hey man, what should I do? I don't know who to start. I'm worried about this or that. So that's what we're going to talk about. Dave, bring us into this. This segment we're talking about here.
You can listen to all the talking heads, of which we are now part of that group of talking heads. Here we are. Talk. Listen to us. If we're wrong, we don't want to hear it. Okay? I don't want to see your comments about how we're wrong or whatever. You're hearing, this is an opinionated show. We're telling you what we think. Okay? So the big deal is, we're not talking about kickers and we're not talking about defense. All right. If you picked a kicker in the first round, you do not deserve to be playing fantasy football. Okay. Here's the deal. So quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Where do you guys want to start? Let's start with running backs. Okay. So the idea here is, let's get your top 3 running backs, stardom. Okay. But I don't want to go with the obvious ones like CMC or Bijan Robinson or Breece Hall or Jonathan Taylor. Okay. Let's not go with the obvious, because not everyone was lucky enough to get one of the guys, you're just going to start no matter what, unless they're injured. So which one of you wants to go first? Give me your top 3 running backs, and then the reason why. It could all have to do with who they're playing this week. You may not start them every week, but based on the schedule and what we know, this is the first game of the year, or the first play, a week of the year. So there's a lot we really don't know yet. So Brian, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first on my running backs. I'll name the 3 that I've got, and like Dave said, this is just a start for week 1. This might not be a start for every week. But for this week, I'm starting Derrick Henry if I got him. I'm starting James Conner if I've got him. And I'm starting Rachaad White if I've got him. Reason why for Derrick Henry, I literally have the Ravens, in my opinion, blowing out the Chiefs this week. I think the Ravens are going to absolutely go crazy. I think they're going to prove a point. Not that it's going to matter to Kansas City, but I think they're going to come out on fire. I think Henry is not going to he's not going to have like a 100-yard game, but I think he gets 2 to 3 touchdowns. And that's a substantial amount of points. Even if he's only got 80, he's got 2 touchdowns. He's giving you close to 20-something points. So that's a good start. James Conner, Arizona is playing Buffalo. Buffalo's defense is decimated. They're decimated, and James Conner is a sleeper. They got a full offense. He's going to be able to get some passes out of the backfield. And Rachaad White wasn't that great running last year. He only averaged like 3.7 yards, but man, is he a receiving machine. So in a PPR league, he's the way to go. The Bucs running back room doesn't look that great to me. I just think against the Commanders defense, I think he's going to have a field day.
I agree. If you've got a running back that, he might be getting you 60 or 70 yards on the ground, but if he's catching 6 or 7 balls at the same time, your fantasy points are going to add up.
Yep.
Andrew?
Yeah. We have a common interest in one of those games there. So I have James Cook on the other side of the ball for Connor. James Cook, part of that Buffalo offense. Listen, the Buffalo defense is not good. The Arizona defense is not good. It should be an offensive shootout because Josh Allen is still leading that Buffalo offense. Stephon Diggs is gone. So I think the ball is going to get spread around a lot more. And James Cook got most of his fantasy points last year from receiving the ball. Not all of them, but a good portion of them. And so I think he's going to be a more solid piece in that offense, going to be used the right way. and you won't be sitting there screaming at the television screen, give James Cook the ball, because that's what – if you had James Cook on your team last year, that's all you did. You were like, just give the guy the ball.
Yeah.
So if you have James Cook, start that guy. Don't worry about it. Another one I got is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is playing the New York Football Giants in week 1, and that defense is not good. Okay, they didn't make any improvements this offseason. They didn't pick up any big names. They were not good last year, and that's who Aaron Jones is going for. He's the RB1 there. Honestly, even if you have Ty Chandler, I know we're only doing 3, but even if you had Ty Chandler as an RB2 or a flex, I wouldn't be afraid of it. I think Aaron Jones is going to be the featured RB1, but there should be enough to go around. And with Sam Darnold there, Sam Darnold, he's experienced. He hasn't played a whole lot of starts, but he's been around the league for a little bit. And what we saw in the offseason with that team, he looked okay. So I'm going to go with Aaron Jones against the Giants. And then my other one is going to be Jerome Ford. All right. Listen, Jerome Ford, this guy is primed to have a great season. He's going in as the RB1 with no questions for the Browns. And they're going against that Dallas defense, which we know is good. We know the Dallas defense, it's a good defense. We don't know how they're going to do this season. It's week 1. But he's the running back 1. And if Deshaun Watson doesn't know how to throw the ball like he didn't know how to throw the ball last year, now, granted, he did have a really messed up shoulder, and actually props to the guy for trying. But if Deshaun Watson still isn't the Deshaun Watson we knew back in Houston, there's going to be a lot of running taking place, and Jerome Ford is going to take that number 1 spot. So if you got Jerome Ford, Aaron Jones, or James Cook, you plug those guys right into your lineup.
Jerome Ford is a perfect example of a guy stepping up when you get the opportunity.
For sure. And imagine drafting him too. Like, imagine if you had him on your team and you got him in a later round too. Imagine that.
Yeah, and last year I tried to trade for him. I tried picking him up. I wanted him so bad, but I couldn't get him. Aaron Jones, when you talk about Aaron Jones, and I have a personal with him because of last year, that hamstring, and it's crazy to start this season, there are so many hamstring talks of injuries and pull, soreness, whatever, but at least week 1 with Aaron Jones, he's starting fresh. We don't know
just imagine though, having Aaron Jones and Jerome Ford and James Cook on your team. Just imagine if you drafted, how good you must be drafting.
You know what? You remind me of somebody when I go back and look at our draft that we did just the other day. Let me see. Oh, yes, it was you, Brian. All of those guys on your team. You're so smart, man.
Thanks, man.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't even realize that you had all 3 of those guys on your team.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, and I didn't say anything till after. I didn't say it when you were picking yours, Bobby.
Yeah.
I let you just say them, and you just solidified my greatness.
Well, okay. So here's a fun game, Brian. You've got all 3 of these guys on your team
that he picked.
You're starting 2 of them,
right?
Who are you starting? Aaron Jones, James Cook, Jerome Ford. Like, who's sitting on the bench this week?
Or maybe I could flex one of them.
Okay, is that what you're gonna do?
I guess Mikey will have to wait and find out, won't he?
Because I'm also looking at all your receivers, man.
Pretty good,
Brian.
right?
You got a good team this year, but all right, we're not talking about our own stuff.
Yeah.
Let's move on to you want to do quarterbacks?
Sure.
Listen, Josh Allen went in the 2nd round this year. He fell. He got bumped to round 2. However, in our league, it was he got picked up right on the corner. So he almost made it in the 1st round like he did last year. Yeah. We know if you have Josh Allen, you're starting him. Mm-hmm. We know, I feel like if you got Patrick Mahomes, you're starting him, or Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts. But what other quarterbacks, like what's your top 3 quarterbacks if you don't have one of those guys, who are you starting?
Well, for me, I know he's a great quarterback, but it's because who he's playing, and I'll explain for all of them. I've got Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, and Will Levis. Oh, what are you talking about, Brian? Those are terrible. Here's why. Joe Burrow could literally have us 3 as his wide receivers. I think he'll be fine because he's playing New England, and they're a mess.
Joe Burrow makes sense. I have no questions about that pick. All right.
But people will say Jamar Chase might not be playing. So I mean, you lose one of your weapons. I still say because it's New England and they're playing at home, I think it's a good play. Now Sam Darnold, I mean, he's going up against the New York Football Giants. Okay, like I wouldn't really be concerned when you have Justin Jefferson there. I mean, I think he's gonna have a good game. I think he'll be okay. He's got that great running back, Aaron Jones, that's gonna help him out. And then I got Will Levis against Chicago. Will Levis, listen, Will Levis has Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tony Pollard, Ty J. Spears, Olga Kukaluka, or however you say his tight end name. He's got a good tight end. I mean, I think Will Levis is going to, I wouldn't start him. I wouldn't have him. But if someone had an injury for whatever reason this week, or they did draft him, and he might be a better play because I don't know how great Chicago's corners are going to be this year. And I think, again, that's going to be a lot of offense in that game also. So those are my three: Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, and Will Levis.
I think we said previously on one of our shows talking about Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who's throwing the ball to him. He's catching the ball.
Yep.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It makes sense. I like it. So 3 quarterbacks that I have, you could say maybe these are like no questions. If you drafted these guys, obviously you're confident in them, but we could have some question marks. Like, for instance, Baker Mayfield, he's playing against the Washington Commanders, and the Washington Commanders defense of last year was the worst when it came to fantasy points given up to quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. So Baker Mayfield has Rachaad White to check down to. He's got Mike Evans, that guy is going to go in the Hall of Fame. And then you have Chris Godwin there as well. I'm not worried about Baker Mayfield. If I had Baker Mayfield, I'm starting him this week. I'm not worried about that. And then you have this may be a little, on the iffy side, but Matt Stafford. When it comes to quarterbacks for fantasy football, you always kind of lean toward running quarterbacks. If you have a running quarterback, you're starting the guy. No questions. Absolutely no questions about it. But so far, me and Brian have picked more of pocket passer, which, I got Joe Burrow. But thank you, Brian, for putting him on your list because you've given me comfort and confidence that I can start Joe Burrow this week. All right. But I got Matt Stafford here. And Matt Stafford, who are they playing against? I just had it pulled up. They're playing against the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions is a good defense. We know that. But they were the 3rd worst defense when it comes to fantasy points for quarterbacks last season. Obviously, it's week 1. That could change this year. But my reason for picking Matt Stafford is if Cooper Kupp is healthy and Puka Nacua is healthy and Kyron Williams is healthy, he's got plenty of options, much like Baker Mayfield. He's got plenty of options to choose from for throwing the ball. So I'm confident in Matt Stafford. And then we have Geno Smith is my 3rd one. Geno Smith, they're playing against the Denver Broncos. All right. And the Denver Broncos are not that great of a team. There's just not much there. And Geno Smith has DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, if he plays. Noah Fant is a formidable tight end. He's not somebody I'm going to start on my team, but he's a good option for Geno Smith to throw to. And then you also have, what's the running back's name? What's the running back?
Walker.
Kenneth Walker. You have Kenneth Walker there as well. So these 3 quarterbacks, the reason I'm picking them is not so much because I think they're the best quarterbacks, but because they all 3 have really good wide receiver options and as of right now, mostly healthy offenses going into week 1, and their matchups are great. Yep. So that's the reason I'm picking those. So if you got Mayfield, Geno Smith, or Matt Stafford, you're good to go.
That, you made a good point about with Baker Mayfield, and we know he's going to be solid because of who he's throwing to. But when you consider looking at all the quarterbacks that are out there, I mean, there's a lot of guys we didn't talk about, like C.J. Stroud, Kyler Murray, Jordan Love. So let me ask you this. I think if Joe Burrow's on your team, you're starting him. Okay. Matt Stafford, would you start him over, say, Kirk Cousins?
Cousins is playing against Pittsburgh, but Atlanta's at home. These are the things. Are the Rams on the road? Don't they play? Aren't they playing in Detroit? So you got crowd noise. Again, these are things I look at too.
And it's hard to say, but there's a lot. You kind of know what you're getting with Kirk Cousins, but he's on a brand new team to him. Essentially, there's no film on him playing with any of these guys.
Right.
Who he's going to be throwing to. What about, let's see, Brock Purdy or Will Levis? Come on.
Will Levis, for sure.
I'm going to start Will Levis.
Me too.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's going against the Jets defense.
Oh, I forgot. You're a new Jets fan now, right? Because of
or he just made a really good point that he's
You're right. Okay. I told you we're not talking about defense or kickers.
But we're explaining why you should start certain quarterbacks.
Yeah. Listen,
I'm not afraid to start Brock Purdy. No. I mean, he's got plenty of weapons. Brandon Ayuk he's got his contract now, so he's all happy go lucky. Debo Samuel's there, George Kittle's there, CMC's there.
Everybody on the 49ers offense is happy and getting paid except for Brock Purdy. Okay, so it doesn't matter who he's throwing to or whatever. All right. I want to save wide receivers for the last because I think that's going to be the better one. Let's talk about tight ends.
All right.
When we did our draft this year and you're looking at the tight end room, man, it's like there's a few top ones. And then after that, Brian, you even said, I don't even care about tight ends. I'm waiting. I'm saving my picks for receivers and running backs. Basically is what you did. And I think that's smart because that's going to pay off better for you. If you can get a tight end that's going to get you 15 points a game, I think you're doing really good.
Yeah.
But taking out the obvious ones like Sam Laporta, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, whatever, who's your top three tight ends?
I have Dalton Kincaid, Tyler Conklin, and Trey McBride. Yes, that's who I have. Two of those are in the game, and that is the Buffalo and the Arizona game because, like Bobby said earlier, their defenses are trash. And I just think both of them can have huge days because, like, Kyler Murray, he's throwing to a rookie. Josh Allen, he's throwing to a rookie. So we really don't know, but McBride proved last year he's good. Kincaid is good. These guys have been in the system. So I would take a feeler with them. They can be tight end ones, and I would start both of them, like if I have either one. And why Tyler Conklin? Well, because he's a Jet. And as long as the Turf Monster doesn't get Aaron Rodgers again, he's got weapons everywhere. And I just feel Conklin's going to get 5-6 catches. He may get 50, 70 yards. Even if he doesn't get a touchdown, that's 10, 11, 12 points from a tight end in week one. That's not a big name because everybody else drafted him in front of you. Okay, I'll take that. 10 to 12 points, I'll take that.
Okay, Bobby Drew. Moment of silence is over. Yeah.
Okay. I was just waiting. I wanted to be polite. I wanted everybody to finish with their thoughts there. So yes, the Tyler Conklin one is interesting. I was interested in him last year, and when you go back looking over his career, he did play with not him. I'm talking about Robert Tonyan. So Robert Tonyan, when he played with Green Bay, he was a relative. He wasn't like top 5 or anything. He was a relative tight end. He went to Chicago, did nothing.
Right.
And he went to Minnesota, did nothing. And I don't even know where I think he's still at Minnesota right now. Yeah. But Tyler Conklin has the possibility because he has good hands. He's a good tight end. I do like that pick, Brian. For me, it's my guy, Kyle Pitts. Listen, you guys heard my take on Kyle Pitts. I'm so high on this guy this year because of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And simply because of that. He's thrown to the most out of all tight ends. but had the least amount of catches, probably because Desmond Ridder was his quarterback and he was throwing it in the stands and didn't know what he was doing. That guy is terrible. He got cut. He was with the Cardinals. They're like, yeah, nah, dude, you can't even be the holder. You're so bad. All right. So that's how bad Desmond Ridder is. And he was the starter in Atlanta last year. Anyways, I'll get off that soapbox. But Kyle Pitts is my pick. I think he's going to have a good game, good first game with Kirk Cousins. And then I got Jake Ferguson as the number 2 one there because really Jake Ferguson kind of is the wide receiver too. They got Brandon Cooks there in Dallas, but I would rather throw to Jake Ferguson because Brandon Cooks is old, and if that guy gets – listen, that guy's he's gonna throw his hip out of place if he runs too fast, all right? So Jake Ferguson, start that guy. And then Evan Ingram playing against Miami. Evan Ingram is a PPR machine. If you're in a half PPR, I don't know if you want him or not, but he gets a lot of points if you're in a PPR league. So that's what we're in. That's why I'm interested in him. So if I have Evan Ingram, I'm starting that guy because that should be a shootout as well. The Jags defense is not anything special. The Miami defense didn't really do too hot last year either. So Evan Ingram should be a solid start. So if you got Kyle Pitts, Jake Ferguson, or Evan Ingram, don't even think about taking those guys out. Keep those guys in.
And I think, the thing with Kyle Pitts is that's one of those players you got to take a chance on him early because of the situation. With adding Kirk Cousins there, the offense, they got rid of what was that guy that you loved there that was calling plays for Atlanta?
Arthur Smith.
Oh, yeah.
He's gone. So look, it's a new offense, a great quarterback, and you're either going to get exactly what you're going to expect out of him, or he's going to be a bust. But I think he's the one I would say you gotta take your chance on him for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Wide receivers. Bro, in our league, in our draft, we had somebody that picked 7 wide receivers in their draft, did not pick a defense.
That was
okay.
Me. That was me. I was like,
No,
that sounds familiar.
Oh, you okay. No, it wasn't you. It might have been you.
Yeah, it was Bobby.
If that's the case, then there's 2. No,
it was Bobby.
Well, I'm thinking of somebody else as well. But the wide receiver room went deep, I feel like. But the obvious, in our league, Tyreek Hill was a number 1 pick. And then you got guys like CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I know Jamar Chase is an interesting one because of the situation going on, the distraction, the fact that has he even played a preseason game this year? I mean, I know he's a veteran.
Nope.
He's coming in, he knows the system, but there might be some concern there. So without going with the obvious, because obviously if you got Tyreek Hill, you're starting him. Mm-hmm. But let's do just the top 3 that you feel like that would be worth starting.
Okay. I got 3, and one of them plays Thursday, and I know playing a flex for a Thursday night game is not the smartest strategy because if someone gets hurt, and for a Sunday game, you're out of luck. You know what I'm saying? So, maybe start the first guy that I say, start him as a receiver if you have him on your team because I think he's going to be a good play. Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Does everybody remember what happened last year when Zay Flowers was about to score? He got the ball knocked out by L'Jarius Sneed. Guess who's not on the Chiefs this year? He's on the Titans. L'Jarius Sneed. I'm going to tell you right now, Zay Flowers is going to have a breakout season. Like I said, with the Derrick Henry pick, I think he's going to have a monster game also. I think they're going to prove a point. So Zay Flowers, if you got him, he's a good play. I wouldn't flex him. I would put him as a wide receiver. Then I have Darnell Mooney. Who? Darnell Mooney. He's the number 2 in Atlanta, if you didn't know that. Because Rondell Moore got injured. He's out for the year. Darnell Mooney's really not that bad. When he was with Chicago, he had some good plays. He's a number 2. Drake London's going to get the attention. Bijan's going to get the attention. The aforementioned Kyle Pitts is going to get the attention. And I think Kirk Cousins is going to like this little slot receiver. Darnell Moody's a good play for a flex. And my last one is T. Higgins. T. Higgins, why? The aforementioned Jamar Chase. Is he even going to play? T. Higgins could have a 35-point game. Guys, they're going up against New England at home. Yeah, New England, they have good corners. They do. I'm not saying they don't, but they're going up against New England. I think T. Higgins is going to have a killer game. So if you've got him on your team, you might want to start him. But if he is on your team, he could end up having like 1 point too. So who knows? But anyway, I don't know who's got him on his team, but I would play him because I guarantee he'll have at least 2 points. So T. Higgins is a good play.
It's fantasy, bro. We remember, we don't know. Nope. We're telling you our opinions.
That's right. So Zay Flowers, Darnell Mooney, and T. Higgins are my plays for the week.
Listen, I think during the year, and we saw this last year too, with T. Higgins, even when Jamar Chase is playing and healthy and whatever, you got to remember who's throwing them the ball. He's still getting catches. He's still a great number 2, and he's going to get you fantasy points no matter what.
Yep.
And if you pick Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, that probably wasn't smart anyway. But I think I agree with that. It'd be a good start. What about you, Bobby Drew?
Well, I'm pivoting right now.
Pivot.
I just had something pop in my brain. I'll mention the guy that I'm pivoting from at the end, but you know what? This wasn't in my list when we were talking about it before the show, but I'm going to add this guy in to replace somebody. I'm going to say you must start Jaden Reed from the Green Bay Packers for this Friday. I know it's an international game, so that that doesn't always benefit the teams, but they're going against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles have a great offense, but their defense is not that great, and they gave up the most amount of points to wide receivers last year. They were the worst defense against wide receivers fantasy football wise, giving up an average of 37.1 across the board. All right. Jaden Reed had a great season last year. He's kind of their jack of all trades. He catches the ball, he runs the ball, he's their jet sweep guy, he's their trick play guy. I mean, I think there's a lot of options there. So I'm going to say if you got Jaden Reed, don't be afraid to plug that guy in. Now, going back to what Brian said, the flex spot, that's tough. The reason why we say the flex spot is tough, if you guys don't know, if you're new to fantasy football, we'll break it down for you. So your flex spot, you usually can put a wide receiver or a running back in it. Some leagues allow tight end.
Yeah.
But usually it's wide receiver or running back. So if you put a wide receiver in a flex spot and he doesn't do that good or somebody else gets injured, maybe you don't have the roster spots to fill. Like you put that wide receiver in that flex spot and then you don't have any wide receivers on your bench, and then your next wide receiver gets hurt, you can't switch them out. So that's why we say if it's a Thursday night game or for some weird reason we have a Friday night game, you like put them in like this week, you put them in their running back or wide receiver spots. Anyways, Jaden Reed, start that guy. My next one's kind of obvious, but he is listed as questionable right now. But there's some question about the quarterback. I believe in Gardner Minshew, so I say start Devontae Adams. They're going against the Los Angeles Chargers. That team is a dumpster fire. I should say this. It's week 1. We don't know what that team is right now. But from the appearance, that's a dumpster fire of a team, okay? So I'm fully confident in Devontae Adams with Gardner Minshew. My next one is going to be kind of opposite of what Brian said, Drake London. I know he said Darnell Mooney. Drake London is going to get a lot of attention, but I don't think the Pittsburgh defense has enough players to give attention to any wide receiver. So Drake London or Darnell Mooney, I think you're fine with starting either one of them.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I know I got Kyle Pitts in there, but I'm excited about this offense with Kirk Cousins. The guy that I pivoted from is on the other side of the field, and that's George Pickens. The reason I'm not excited about that offense, only reason I say George Pickens is he's a wide receiver 1. Russell Wilson is still a good quarterback. The only worry we have about that team is their offensive line. It's non-existent. If Russell Wilson has time to throw that ball, you know who he's throwing it to? George Pickens.
Yep.
That's it. So if you got George Pickens, I mean, I'm not afraid to start the guy, but I wanted to pivot from him because I feel like Jaden Reed has the potential to have a really good week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's my 3 wide receivers.
Well, and I know between the two of you, there's only 6 we can pick from in a big list of wide receivers. But you think of another guy like Mike Evans. You know, this guy is a solid, guaranteed 1,000-yard receiver. And did you say they're playing that Washington Redskins? Oh,
Commanders. Oh, no.
I apologize.
Hey, no,
Can we delete that? Can we?
Imagine having Mike Evans on your team, too. Just imagine that.
Listen.
What's his roster? Let's just go through his roster.
Yeah, you want to go through my roster? Go through it.
I want to look at it.
Listen, I got it right here. Yeah, but that's a perfect example. If you've got him on if he was your second pick in the draft, Brian, you got to start that guy because you know he's getting yards. They're going against the Washington Commanders defense. He's gonna, Baker Mayfield's gonna be throwing him the ball, and he's gonna get catches. And that's another thing. He catches the ball
all the time.
Who was it last year? I think with the Chiefs, the guy the ball would hit him in the hands and he doesn't catch it.
Darius Toney.
Darius Toney, all of them. Yep.
Oh yeah. Anyway, he catches the ball. So that would be if you've got him, Brian. You're in a unique situation, man, because
I know my team is so good. I don't know who to start.
You do got. I mean, you even had like a 14th round gem. Tell
everybody who I got in the 14th round.
Gabe Davis.
Yep.
In the 14th round.
Yeah.
But so Mike Evans. Hey, we're not just talking to our people on this. This is for This is for the world out there. For all tens of our listeners. That's not in our own league. You got Mike Evans. You start him for sure. All right. So that pretty much covers our stardom list. We're not going to go like 3 each, but whether it's, let's do this off the cuff, whether it's a quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, who are you afraid to start this week? Or at all. I'm going to give you an example. There is a guy that I'm not quite getting it. I don't understand. It's a quarterback.
Plays for the Colts.
He's going so high on every list. He went pretty high in our draft. Brian, I know you love this guy. What's his name?
Anthony
Richardson.
Can't throw the ball Richardson.
Listen, this is a guy, if you trust all the talking heads out there,
he's the next Josh Allen. Yeah.
You start him. You start him over Josh Allen. You start I'm not seeing it. I don't know. I kind of hope that he's one of those guys that proves everybody wrong. As far as I think the 3 of us can agree, I'm staying away from him. I hope he proves all of us wrong. I wish him the best of luck. Yeah. But that's a guy I would want to see a few games under his belt before I would be willing to start him. I drafted my 14th round pick was Bo Nix. This guy had a great preseason. I mean, he's been named the starter. He's supposed to be really, really good. What are we going to get out of him? I'm not starting him week 1, but I kind of picked him up thinking, man, maybe he'll show out, and then I can either use him or trade him or whatever. But those are a couple of quarterbacks that I'm thinking. So give me some examples of guys that you think there could be something there, but you're just afraid to start them.
What do you think about Mark Andrews? Would you really want to start him? What do you think you get from him? Because also when Isaiah Likely played last year, he was pretty good. Do you start Mark Andrews or do you wait and see? I mean, he's Mark Andrews, but I didn't draft him because he cost me a championship last year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you would have won the championship if he
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
go
Okay, we're not gonna go back and revisit that, please.
This
down.
is
Props
what
to you,
happens.
Bobby Drew.
This is what happens when you let your emotions get the best of you in fantasy football because of what happened to a player in his body last year, an injury he couldn't control. I'm not going to pick him up anymore.
Yeah, it caused me to take a tight end in the 93rd round.
For all the listeners out there, Brian he's like, I hate all tight ends. I'm not even picking a tight end. I could care less.
It destroyed me. But I did get a decent tight end this year in
You
like
did.
the 11th round or something.
Yeah, you did. All right, well, that makes sense. What about you, Bobby Drew? Have you been paying attention the last few minutes? Look like you're busy over there on the computer.
I'm looking at some names here, players that I'd be afraid to start. So players that I'd be iffy to start, like I think what you brought up, Dave, was a great example. Bo Nix. We don't know what to expect from that guy. It's not like he has a high-powered offense. Like there's a difference between wanting to, like when we pick wide receivers, if I pick a wide receiver, like, I don't know, for instance, Devontae Adams, it doesn't take much for him to have a good fantasy week. It could take 3 catches, a touchdown, and 60 yards. And he has a good fantasy football output for me. Gardner Minshew needs a lot more than 60 yards and a touchdown and 3 completions to have a good fantasy output. So when we pick wide receivers, it doesn't necessarily mean that we think the QB is going to have a good game. So like Cortland Sutton, I'm okay with starting Cortland Sutton this week. Javonte Williams in a deep league as an RB2, sure. But I'm not going to start Bo Nix. There's no way I'm starting that guy. Jaden Daniels, I'm not starting him. There's no way. I'm afraid to start him. Obviously, Justin Herbert, we just don't know what to expect. He's not completely healthy. His number 1 wide receiver is Joshua Palmer. So I'm not going there. It's not going to happen. Outside of that, everybody else I'm pretty confident in. I don't have anybody that really sticks out to me. Hot take, this could be a hot take. I'm not saying I am afraid, but the Baltimore defense is really good.
Oh yeah,
really good. And I know we know Patrick Mahomes did it last year. He had an off year, you could say, fantasy wise, even though he was still he ended up top 10. But that Ravens defense is still really good. Hollywood Brown's not going to be there. I think his number 1 receiver is going to be Rashee Rice, and he's going to have a rookie in Xavier Worthy, and of course Travis Kelce. So I'm not saying I'm afraid to start him, but there's other quarterbacks I would rather start than Patrick Mahomes this week, just because they're going against the Baltimore defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's a few names that I'm gonna be afraid of. As far as running backs go, Brian, do you have any running backs that you're afraid to start this week?
No, not. I would stay away from a Tennessee Titan running back, Spears or Pollard. I know that I talked about Levis. I just don't know. Like in week 1, I want to see what they can do. Who's going to be the 3rd down back? I mean, because you don't really know who's going to take the role of RB1. They haven't even mentioned it yet. So I would stay away from them, like in everything that I can do. And DeAndre Swift on the Bears, that guy went to oblivion. I don't know what to expect from him. I know a lot of people drafted him in a lot of drafts that I did as a RB1 or 2, but you just don't know what you're going to get with them. I mean, those are the only ones I really can think of.
He went relatively high in our draft, and he did great when he was with Philly
for 11 weeks, and then they forgot to run the ball.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. He's got one of those maybe more familiar names when you have people in your league that don't really know what they're doing, or haven't put the time in and the study like we do, or listen to good shows like this. I'm looking at somebody in our league specifically that they picked him as their RB2 essentially. Yeah. So I mean, with a lot of other guys still on the board. So anyway,
one more. I want to bring up one more name, Dave.
Yeah.
What do you guys feel about? Listen, Jalen Warren's out. We know that. What about Najee Harris? What do you guys feel about Najee Harris?
Believe it or not, our boy Artie Smith, who is now their OC, loves running backs not named Bijan Robinson. So Najee Harris was good 2 years ago. Watch Najee Harris actually be pretty good now with Russell Wilson there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too afraid of him. Like, I think he would be a good play, but that's one of those where honestly you flip a coin. You just do.
And if he fumbles the ball one time, then you might as well don't even bother trading him. Just dump him.
Don't come
because he's not going to play the rest of the year.
Yep.
He's going to get punished.
If you ended up in this situation where you had to pick Najee Harris up, I feel sorry for you.
Yep.
I was avoiding him like a plague. There is no way.
Yep.
There's no way I was picking that guy up.
Yep.
Well, Dave, we gave you all the advice you need for the week.
Listen, but I'm looking at our draft. This is why understanding what you're doing, and I'm going to be honest with you, I've learned over the years, especially between last year and this year, I'm looking at, as an example, in our league, Najee Harris was picked as this particular player's RB2. He missed out because he picked this running back in round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but he picked up a quarterback and a tight end before the tight end room. I guess part of me gets it because the tight end room is not deep like it is for wide receivers and running backs. But who cares? Because if you're going to get 10 to 15 points out of a tight end in your full PPR league, then you're doing good. All right. Yeah, you might pick up Travis Kelce and get them blowout, 20-point games or whatever, or 20-plus point games. But you got to get your good running backs and wide receivers in. There's too many good quarterbacks. There's too many good running backs. There's plenty of quarterbacks. So don't pick your quarterback in the second round. But it's too late for everybody out there, because if your draft isn't done yet, then what are you doing?
Oh, what are you waiting for?
Honestly, what are you doing? I've heard of drafts going at like first game is at 8:20, 8:30 Thursday night. I've heard of drafts happening at like 6 p.m.
It's crazy.
And you got to draft, and then you got to set your lineup. No way.
Nope.
No way. All right. Well, if you guys are interested, we're gonna have a link in the bottom. You can join our pick and poll still. This will be going up on Wednesdays, so you still have a little over less than 24 hours. You can join at any time. It's not closed when the season starts. You'll just be behind everybody. But I've already got my picks in for this week, so we'll see how I do. But that's some starts and some maybe not so starts for this week. Some of you are gonna win. Some of you are going to lose.
I'm going to win.
I hope that I win. I win.
Listen, you always want to win. You always want to win your first week. You always want to win no matter what.
I didn't win. I think I started out 0-2 last year.
Yeah.
Even like I'm looking ahead. Okay, like my favorite team is the Green Bay Packers. I'm looking ahead to this week. There's a chance we win, and there's a very good chance that we lose. But it goes both ways with this game this week, and I just hate the look of 0-1. I'd rather go 1-1, like win week 1 and lose week 2.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go 0-1 to start the year. You know what I mean? Because that puts so much pressure on game 2. If you're 0-1 and then you go 0-2, it's like, man, it's not good. It's just not good. So, All right, everybody. Thanks for joining into the show. Pay attention next week. We're going to have our reactions, some starts, some sits, waiver wires, all that good stuff. We'll do an overreaction to the first week of fantasy football. Oh, my. I am so glad that fantasy football is here. We're all going to turn on the TV Thursday night and
Guys,
back,
I'm
baby.
going to be traveling. I'm going to be on the road, dude.
Come on. You got to get YouTube TV, man.
Yeah.
You can watch it anywhere.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thanks for joining in. We'll see you all next week. Good luck and week 1 of fantasy football.
Go Pat.
Peace out and God bless.
Thank you for watching another episode of The Bobby Drew Show. Be sure to follow us on all of our social medias at The Bobby Drew Show.